it makes a lot of sense for me in this industry at the beginning of it, with a lot of Amazon sellers giving feedback on TikTok and TikTok Shop, that they're approaching it from a operationally scaling other creators versus being the creatives themselves. Okay. And so if you have no creative ability, maybe that's the way for you to go, if that makes sense, right? If that's not your passion, if you're not like really passionate about creating content or any of those things, like I think that is the way to go.
Welcome to the E-Com Breakthrough Podcast. Are you ready to unlock the full potential and growth in your business? You've already crossed 7 figures in sales, but the challenge is knowing how to take your business to the next level. Join Josh Hadley, an 8-figure e-com business owner and investor, as he interviews highly successful business owners. Get ready, because you're going to learn specific actions you can take today to help your business reach its full potential and leave a lasting impact on the world.
Welcome to the E-Com Breakthrough Podcast. I'm your host, Josh Hadley, where I interview the top business leaders in e-commerce. Past guests include Kevin King, Michael E. Gerber, author of The E-Myth, and Matt Clark from ASM. Today, I'm speaking with Andrew Morgans of Marknology. We are going to be sharing the tactics, the strategies, and the insights that he has implemented as he's worked with over 400 brands and helped scale many of them from 7 to 8 figures and beyond. This episode is brought to you by E-Com Breakthrough, where I specialize in investing in and scaling 7-figure e-commerce companies to 8 figures and beyond. If you're an ambitious e-commerce entrepreneur looking for a partner who can help take your business to the next level, my team and I bring hands-on experience, strategic insights, and the resources needed to fuel your growth. So if you or someone you know is ready to scale or looking for an investment partner, reach out to me directly at josh@ecombreakthrough.com. That's ecom with 2 M's, and let's turn your dreams into reality. But today I am super excited to introduce you all to Andrew Morgans. Andrew is the founder of Marknology, a full service marketplace agency that, since it was founded in 2014, has worked with over 400 brands, and it consists of over 35 team members. He has scaled dozens of brands on Amazon from 7 to 8 figures and has spoken as a thought leader in the e-commerce space all around the world. He currently has equity or ownership in 9 brands on Amazon. He manages and operates a warehouse and a 3PL in Kansas City, and he still loves getting his hands dirty, fixing or improving small brands and large alike. So with that introduction, welcome to the show, Drew.
Thank you, Josh. It's quite the intro. Super excited to be here. We met at a couple conferences back, and this has been on the calendar for a while now. So just excited to get to chat with another e-com pro and really just share some value today with our listeners.
Yeah, we met at Kevin King's $1 Billion Seller Summit in Hawaii and saw you present on stage. I absolutely loved your presentation, loved everything you were sharing, and the success track record that you've been able to develop over the years, I think, is very impressive. And I think you're going to be able to share a lot of tips and strategies with our listeners. That's why I was so excited to get you on the podcast here today. So let's cut to the chase and, tell me kind of what you see working on Amazon right now as you're managing, advising, consulting different brands. Where do you see the puck going right now? Where's your focus at?
Well, that's a good question. Definitely in the agency side, my focus is really working on our offer as an agency, really letting people, doing a better job of showing our value and how we're really helping brands. I think the space has got commoditized. There's a lot of noise. And so, what are the best players really doing for their brands? And so on my level, I'm trying to figure out how to sell that, right? Spending a lot of time doing that. But I think, as e-commerce experts or industry experts, like at the end of the day, we're operators, sure, but we're salesmen and women through and through, whether we're selling through an Amazon page or a Chewy page or a TikTok shop or through a newsletter, right? Or on a conference stage. Like at the end of the day, whether we're behind a computer or not, we're salespeople. So I'm working on my sales skills. Personally, And for the brands out there, there's a lot of stuff working. There's honestly a lot of stuff working. There's a lot of stuff against us, I think, at this time. Inflation, the economy changes, commoditization of a lot of different things. Like on Amazon, the product life cycle can be short, so having to switch things up has many opportunities. But there's a lot that's working. TikTok Shop, absolutely crushing it for us. We just had a brand go from 5K in sales in June to 30K sales in July to we're trying to push 50 or 60 in August. So that one's really picking up. We're excited about that one. Because not every shot you shoot goes in, right? And so we're having to figure out as an Amazon agency how to create good content at scale. But we're excited about that because figure it out once and it's easier to repeat the second time or the third time or the fourth time. So TikTok Shop, anything off Amazon, that's what I was speaking about, at BDSS in Hawaii. I was running through, I think, 5 case studies of just different brands that I had used off Amazon efforts to really leverage those efforts to launching a good, successful product on Amazon. Things like TikTok Shop, things like Rumble.com, things like YouTube, different influencers that had some presence there that were leveraging that. Even on the Rumble.com wasn't even an influencer. They were just using paid ads there, right? So you don't even have to be a creator. And then on Amazon, because Amazon's my baby. Like I talk about off Amazon, I talk about some of these other things just because I think that's where I can bring some value to the community and the community could use some positivity, some wins in those areas. But, Amazon's my baby. I've been in the Amazon space 15 years now as an individual, operator. And it's really just trying to get a fresh pair of eyes on every single thing that I'm doing. And when I say I mean me and my team, but it's looking at, I'm breaking down the different areas of Amazon into buckets and saying, is there an opportunity when I look at competition for maybe I've had these products going for 5 years even, right? Or 6 years. It's not always like new launches and whatever. So we're talking about 7-figure brands going to 8-figure brands. It's really saying, yeah, I might have done that 2 years ago, 3 years ago. Maybe the content got a refresh. Maybe I looked at the SEO. I just did a deep dive on a brand that I am a part owner in. And we are number 5 in the market as far as market share. Okay, so we're 5th. So obviously not at the top, but like not bad either. We're doing strong. And I found just for context, they're like felt letterboards. Okay, that type of product, gifting products, wedding stuff, all that kind of thing. And the market has matured to a sense that the customer is actually using different words to describe what we're selling now versus before. It used to be a smaller range of keywords that really drove the sales. There's words around sign and signage that are becoming really strong that weren't there before, and it's really relevant to the product. Just no one ever described it that way, and now they are, right? And so did a deep dive into that, which shows I want to get that into my content. I want to get that into my PPC. And so that was something that it just popped up. Wasn't like rocket science, but because I did the work to dig in and evaluate what my competition's doing again, evaluate where my PPC is again, because my tacos numbers are hitting, my ACOS numbers are hitting, but I'm still looking for opportunity to grow. And my point just being, assume nothing. I'm going department by department and really just seeing are we as tight as we want to be? And at the very least, it gives me peace of mind and validates for me or my brand or the partners we're working with. Look, we in January of this year, in February of this year, in Q2, we dove deep as a team into our supply chain, our inventory, whatever, closed, marked opportunities that we could, and then moved to the next department. So I know that was a mouthful, but I'm in this stage hardcore this year, just going through every part of my business and just evaluating it, digging through it with a fine tooth comb and saying, okay, opportunity, validate that we're doing good, where can we improve?
I love that. And Drew, you shared a lot there, and I want to unpack literally everything that you just talked about there.
So I'm really excited to be here. So,
well, what I want to do, let's start at the top. What have you been doing on TikTok Shop? Because, prior to hitting the record button, not every brand has succeeded on TikTok Shop, but you're seeing some brands succeed. So what's the differentiating factor? Because I think TikTok Shop, that's the number one question that people have. our brand personally, we've seen success on TikTok Shop, but our focus is 100% creator driven, 0% by ourselves, right? It's not a viral video we created. So the strategies are numerous on TikTok Shop. I'm curious to hear, Drew, what do you see working on TikTok Shop that you could, pull back the curtains and give our audience some actionable ideas?
Okay, guys, get your pens out, pens, pencils. This is good stuff. Something about me is like I was raised in the jungle. I'm a missionary kid. I was raised in Cameroon, like literally like flip-flops in the jungle, raised in Congo, DRC. So I just approach things sometimes for the good, sometimes for the bad. Just I can approach things differently than other people, if that makes sense. And just see things like from outside the box. And I do feel like this industry, especially at the top, is really ran by very technical and good at operations professionals. Okay. I feel like the Amazon space in general was not pioneered by marketing creatives, by advertising creatives. Okay. Does that make sense? Like you follow me on that? That's my assessment of it. But it's how I feel. You're good at sourcing. You're good at logistics. You're good at computers. Like it's like, generally speaking, I don't feel like it's just been pioneered by marketing and advertisers. So that being said, creative has generally sucked on Amazon. Marketing ideas are basic in general, and I think a lot of times people don't see themselves as creators. They're family men and women. They're like trying to not work as much in their 9 to 5. This is not like the TikTok influencer that's been pioneering Amazon. So keep that in mind. TikTok Shop is now the Amazon of the past. Okay, in a lot of ways, but it's ran by not the operators, it's ran by the creatives and the advertisers and people able to do that. So it makes a lot of sense for me in this industry at the beginning of it, with a lot of Amazon sellers giving feedback on TikTok and TikTok Shop, that they're approaching it from operationally scaling other creators versus being the creatives themselves. Okay, and so if you have no creative ability, maybe that's the way for you to go. If that makes sense, right? If that's not your passion, if you're not like really passionate about creating content or any of those things, like I think that is the way to go. But in doing so, there's going to be like influencer marketing or affiliate marketing or any of those things. I used to be an affiliate marketing manager when I was an e-commerce manager. There can be over saturation. There can be like anytime there's a good idea, it's like, wow, now it's not a blue ocean anymore. It's loud, it's crowded. And I think some people are experiencing that even now. So, I've went at it a little bit different way. I have a creative team here at Marknology. I think we're one of the best teams in the Amazon space around creative, and had some extra bandwidth with the team that I have now. And so I leaned into that. Of having this creative team it's permanently on retainer with me, not extra expenses, to really dig into TikTok. And I want to share that with people so people understand why I approach things sometimes a certain way versus another way. And so there's a certain level of, if you're just scaling through affiliate creators or whatever, there's a whole lot of things you have to be good at. You have to be good at getting them samples. You have to be good at giving them briefs. You have to be good at maybe approving or disproving content. You have all these other things you have to be good at. If you're an agency, it's an even different approach, because you have to get results and you have to speak to those results, and you have to get them in a timely manner. If you're paid on retainer or anything like that, it's not just like I'm going to invest in my own brand for 12 months and finally get this snowball rolling. You need results much faster than that if you're getting paid to do something, right? And so I think there's if you're owning your own brand, there's this path that might be on TikTok Shop. And if you're like doing it for others, you're trying to scale it faster, et cetera, there's another path. And that's what I'm about to share. But I think the reasoning, I feel like I'm talking to pros on this podcast or advanced people. So I want people to understand why I'm doing a certain thing, which is, for me, what I've been doing, if let's say a brand approaches me, okay, and they approach us like, hey, I want to be on TikTok Shop. We engage to get everything set up. So we're a certified TikTok partner, TikTok Shop, and now TikTok Live. There's like 3 or 4 different partnerships that we've gotten now through TikTok. They're all kind of individual, kind of like on the Amazon side. And what we're doing is we're engaging and getting everything set up. So that's like the store setup on Amazon. It's like getting products in there, connecting with Shopify, your warehouse 3PL, making sure everything's working smoothly. And then what we're doing is we're creating, as an agency, we're creating the first 10 videos for a brand. Okay, in-house, meaning like my team, Marknology, is creating the first 10. And what we're doing with that is we're researching competition, just like on Amazon and anything else. When you're doing your research, we're saying what's happening in the category, the niche, bringing our own ideas to the table. And those first 10 videos we're posting on the account organically as we get them. What it does is it sets the tone for that brand. If we do reach out to creators or affiliates, it's setting the tone where if they come and look at our TikTok page, they're seeing like kind of what content should look like or what we think is good and kind of creating like a feel, right? Otherwise, you're at zero and your first video is getting posted or other affiliates or other creators. So we do the first 10. And it also allows us to see which of those videos do a little bit better organically. We run ads behind a couple of the better ones to kind of get to that first 1,000 follower count, link in bio, those kinds of things, get some movement on the account. And then what we've been doing, and it's actually turning into a little bit more hybrid now, is to get traction, to get movement early. We are, I'm from Kansas City, Missouri, Kansas City, Kansas, it's Twin Cities. I literally live like on the dividing line. But I've been doing entrepreneurship now for 11 years. I have several brands here locally that I've been involved with the community. And I have a pretty good base of creators and people I can reach, influencers, fashion show people. I've been doing this, I've been involved in the community. So this is also an easier move for me than maybe some others. And so, what I did was I reached out to 5 creators with a brand typically, and I'm paying them $100 a video, okay, roughly. And I'm getting 5 creators to make 5 videos each with my first, like, that's $2,500. That's like my investment into content. Okay. So it's $2,500. They're basically sending me like, we send them some like ideas, but we're letting them be kind of free with their ideas because we already know that these people are creators. These are not randoms. These are like people that I know that create content. And so maybe I'm getting a guy, a girl, a family, whatever. I'm trying different mediums. They create 5 videos each in that first round. It also, like, my logistics of having to get samples out to people, and then all of this is like, that's not a thing because it's local to my city, to people that I know. So I'm not having to handle this. Did you get the package? Did you order? Here's your code, like, all of that. And at first it was like they created the videos and sent them back to us. And I've worked with some $100 million brands on TikTok already, like some really large players. Think Disney, think like Hello Kitty, think some Goja brands. People know Goja, some large players where needing to get permission on some of that like licensed stuff was a nightmare because when you're in the content creative game, you need to be able to move fast and quick and try different things and iterate. And so it's actually a lot easier if it's your own brand or it's a smaller brand and you're able to kind of create what you want without needing sign off on everything, right? So I've had to adjust that. But these 5 creators create these 5 videos. They send the raws into us. And my team, because I have the capabilities here, we're not like a full production team or whatever, but we can definitely cut, splice, edit up these videos. And we're doing that because the creators, they take a little bit more chances when we don't tell them that they have to do the editing. So they might be great creators. Editing and like creating to me is almost like 2 different roles. It's almost like doing PPC and creative writing and logistics on Amazon. It's like editing is the storytelling of a video. Filming it and creating it is different, right? And so I'm getting better ideas and better output when I tell them that we'll do the editing. And it also allows us to cut the video up 5 different ways a Sunday, right? So, we've taken, like with the brand we just did the 30K in July with that I just mentioned, we're now 3.5 months in, still using those first 25 videos, those first 25 videos that we use with those creators. So think about it like if you're using the affiliate side, they're posting videos. It's an army of videos and content. This approach is a little bit different, but we're posting all those 25 organically. Okay. Posting them, seeing what happens to them, making note of the ones that do well, pinning those, re-editing them, creating maybe a better call to action, doing all of that kind of stuff too. So I'm skipping some of those details, but essentially grabbing the better ones. When we kind of figure out what's working for that brand. Is it demonstratable? Is it an unboxing? Is it a how-to? Is it, one of those approaches generally are the types of videos that are working, interview style. And then we're running ads behind it. And that has worked really, really well for us. One, we get the content in a timely manner. We're in control of the content versus the affiliates. We're in control of what the output of what that looks like. We're running ads. They come out with Performance Max ads now. TikTok and Amazon just partnered. Another reason why the ad play is really strong. And it's not as affordable, I guess, or as like as pushing it and going long run and getting affiliates to create, and it's really just like the samples you're giving out. In this path, it's ad dollars, but as an agency, it's way faster to show results to the client and get them some trust and buy-in. After we get that going and we get to a 2-to-1, a 3-to-1 ROAS, I think with the brand I just mentioned, we're at a 5-to-1 ROAS now that we're scaling. Then we can start adding in that affiliate creator approach. Like, our goal is to get 5 or 10 a month on the influencer side almost. I want to say influencer versus creator, and add that into what we're doing versus like relying on just that to do what we need for the brand as an agency, not because we're not in control of that, not getting results and then being like, we're sorry, we tried. We can't really get the right creators. It takes time. Like if you've been doing this several years, you might have a database of pet influencers, of apparel influencers, of fashion or whatever the case is. But if you're really getting started, you don't just have this huge bucket of all of these creators, and so it takes a lot longer. It's just like building relationships. You don't just get a best friend overnight, and getting influencers in a lot of ways is like a relationship. So I know that I'm trying to be a little step by step, so that was a long answer, but like what we're doing is essentially that we're finding creators, controlling the content, posting organically, not at the same speed as maybe some others using affiliates, but posting organically, taking the winners, running ads behind them. And you can get into the nuance of having a landing page in place to retarget them and, all those kinds of things. But in general, that's what we're doing. And, I think on the low side, we're at like a 2 or 3-to-1. And on the higher side, right now we're at like a 5-to-1 on a ROAS. And in some cases, I've even turned off ads on Amazon just to see the effect. And my products running as a TikTok shop on a product, a private label product, my Amazon account is growing naturally because of that, even with PPC turned off. So some fun tests going on. Can definitely try different things if it's your brand versus you're getting paid to do it for someone else, of course, but that's what's working for us right now.
Oh, Drew, this is amazing. So I've had some mental unlocks here that I want to share with everybody. Okay. So number one, on TikTok shop, I think like the problem with like the creator first approach or influencer first approach is that it's a spray and pray method. And you're only as good as your last viral video. And it's very unpredictable when that's coming in. So your sales go like this all of the time on TikTok. It's like super high, then super low, because once that viral video runs out of steam, you're back to nothing.
Yeah.
So I love the strategy of ads that it's like figuratively like keep that ad on for forever. And again, I think you always have to change things up in the advertising game, but there's more predictability. There's a little bit more stability there, much easier for inventory planning, for sure. So I like that aspect on it. And then the other aspect that I like is having that mindset shift of maybe could you dial back your ad strategy on Amazon and take that same amount of capital, leverage it on TikTok, and then, you're going to get some spillover onto Amazon, increasing more awareness, which I think personally, that spend is actually going to influence your organic rank better than any spend that you do on Amazon. I think the PPC stuff is a very small component of the Amazon ranking algorithm. And I think it's more due to conversions, traffic, people search, finding, and buying your product, right? It's the tried and true, like, what's your conversion rate? So, Drew, I'm curious, like, are you driving traffic to a D2C site? Are you driving traffic to just TikTok shop itself? Like people are checking out there on TikTok shop, or are you driving traffic to Amazon?
Well, when I first got into this, I was driving traffic straight from TikTok to Amazon because TikTok shop didn't exist. And so that was definitely where I was like pioneering, and I had some amazing results. I took like a new product from, like a 150 BSR to 11 or something like that. Like it was ranked 11 in a week with organic posting on TikTok. So like, that's what got me so hype about this in the first place was I took this product with like no PPC or reviews behind it. pushed it to a landing page on Shopify. That Shopify page redirected to Amazon, click to buy on Amazon. I was retargeting them if I wanted. I was filtering them out before they got there, because I do think that things change where when you used to send traffic from like Facebook to Amazon, it would punish you if there's a lot of bounces, if there's a lot of like they're coming to Amazon and leaving, and Amazon couldn't track the difference. And so it was like, wow, there's a whole lot of people that don't like this product, let's suppress it or whatever. And so I used to be super OCD about making sure we weren't sending bad traffic to Amazon. And now I'm like, I think that's changed. Honestly, I think that's changed. Like, I can't really prove that that's a thing anymore. So I'm like less concerned about filtering them out on that landing page, but that's really for me to retarget, because the traffic is so cheap on TikTok. If I get them to a landing page, and then I can just, if I'm using Meta and Instagram and whatever, just to retarget, it's actually pretty effective versus using it as the primary advertising medium. And I missed the big Facebook push. Like, I was going all in on Amazon at the time that people were getting really good at Facebook. And so by the time I decided to try to use Facebook, to drive traffic, it was expensive. It was hard to use. The pros are already there. The learning curve was tough. So when TikTok came back around, I'm like, I'm jumping on this, a little bit of time and opportunity. And also the ads right now on TikTok are like, it's like automatic ads on Amazon right now. It's not rocket science. It's really not rocket science. So that makes it easy too, is like, if you're trying to learn it, you don't have to be an absolute like demographic pro, to be able to figure it out. So before TikTok Shop, I was pushing a ton of TikTok to Amazon. Now that the news is out that you can go from TikTok straight in app to click and buy on Amazon, that's absolutely huge. It makes me even think that maybe Amazon and TikTok are going to come in some kind of arrangement to keep TikTok in the US, and Amazon makes some kind of purchase of them or something. I don't know. I know that sounds crazy, but when you understand that they have like Amazon Advantage or Amazon TikTok already thing there, TikTok has to sell to someone to be able to stay here. Now all of a sudden they're playing nice together. I'm just like, ooh, that's kind of a little exciting. But TikTok Shop, like, I'm an agency partner with TikTok Shop. So I started getting reps, like a rep to help us. I started getting, more training, more insights. And before there was these partnerships with Meta and Amazon, adding Shop, essentially the conversion rate went way up. Like, if we're just pushing to Shop, it was just way, way, way up. So it's hard to say I wanted to take it away from Shop and drive directly to Amazon at that point, or directly to the D2C. And a lot of brands I've been working with myself are not, their D2C sites are not super impressive. So it hasn't been the play. It hasn't been the play. It's been basically like, can we use this traffic to drive our growth on Amazon? Or can we just use it as another channel? I love that with Shop, we're getting email addresses, we're getting, we're getting customers in a different way. So as much as you're getting the 3-to-1 or the 5-to-1 ROAS, you're also building out kind of your D2C play in the long run, which is email marketing and retargeting and all those other things.
Yes, 100% on that. I would personally recommend driving the traffic to TikTok Shop, like for people to buy and check out on TikTok Shop, because you get the name, you get the address, you get their phone number, like, and then you can do a lot more marketing there. I think TikTok Shop is probably your best bridge to, if you want to, create your own D2C site. Right?
I agree. Right now, it's like having Facebook, and you're using Facebook to drive your D2C site. Now you have TikTok.
Yes.
You can do TikTok Shop. And, how much work or money did we spend trying to get emails back in the day as an Amazon operator, right? We were doing email appends, we were doing like inserts, all types of stuff, giveaways, trying to get, buy email lists, like, basically like convince them, trick them into like signing up for your email. And now there's just TikTok Shop here that I can actually get a 3-to-1 or a 5-to-1 ROAS and get the customer info. It's like how can you not be doing this? Honestly.
Yep. I love that. Drew, this is amazing. All right. So love that. Let's put a pin in the TikTok Shop stuff. Let's talk about what's working on Amazon right now. Or I think we could double down on the other marketplaces. Do you feel like with your clients, are you seeing more gains? Like, if brand owners have limited amounts of time, where would you recommend they double down on their efforts? Going and getting onto new sales channels that are more niche to your specific product, or doubling down on your conversion rate optimization and really juicing everything on Amazon. What are you seeing working best right now?
I think it's dependent. It's very much dependent on the brand and what they're selling and all of that. Like, I think that some products just aren't good in other places. So, you need I think you need some kind of pro maybe to tell you where you should be or not. Get that help, just like you get tax advice or anything else. Maybe you don't need them to do everything, but get some pro advice. That being said, because I'm not a doctor here, I'm like, I don't want to give people the wrong advice, but I'm, for the longest time, I didn't see results on Walmart. Now we're getting results on Walmart. We've got quite a few brands there that are doing well. Some of that was just products not being in the right category, they're not the right price point. Or there is potential on Walmart if you have the right products, right? And now we just released our first Walmart storefront as a team. That's a new feature they released. So some of these marketplaces are getting better. Others I knew of because I started working with brands and saw how much volume they were doing there already. And that's what woke me up to them. As an agency owner and not just a brand owner, you get a lot more at bats. You get to see a lot more because you're working with other brands that are doing stuff that's winning. Whether I was the one that took that shot or not, I'm now aware of that win, and I think that's something that as an agency owner has increased my learning speed, so to speak. Is like, I'm not just selling home and home decor goods and I know everything about home decor goods. I'm learning about pet and supplements and all these things, right? So Chewy.com, a big player for us. If you have a pet brand, a lot of people can't get into Chewy though. So, in the international marketplaces, it's not another marketplace, but it's kind of in that other category. I think that's, if you're a really good Amazon operator, like thinking about those international marketplaces, it might take you a year to get up. It might take a year to get it up. But that next year after that, let's start growing, right? And you're trying to find 10% growth somewhere. I really think you can find it on those other marketplaces. So I think it's a little brand dependent on what we're selling, guys, to anyone listening. But as an Amazon agency, where I still see so many brands falling short of doing things the right way. I'm obviously not talking to the people that have everything right. But I'm talking about, I think on Amazon, it really have to be a mindset shift. You have to have a mindset shift of saying, I know, even if I've been doing this 10 years like myself, right now I'm going through a phase of one as a brand owner, not just an agency owner. I've got two things I'm running, right? Two different simultaneous things. It's an unlearning of what I knew in the past that might not be the case today, and really approaching everything just I don't know what I don't know, and how can I get better at what I'm doing? So, the 80-20 rule, if you have a hero product on Amazon that's absolutely crushing it, maybe you invest in that one and see if there's upside, So I think it's hard for me to give a yes or no answer where the upside is or not. If you have a super boring product, maybe TikTok's not for you, and we're talking TikTok and TikTok shop, but you have like, an extender to a screwdriver or something. I'm not sure. Maybe that is the one, I don't know. But for us, we're definitely looking to those brands that want to double down on Amazon and saying like, hey, let's just actually take this to the next level. Premium A+, a lot of people don't have Premium A+ in place or from the brand story stuff. They don't have that in place. They're not doing all of those things. So if that's you and you're listening to this, I say, and you're an Amazon seller, you have Amazon expertise, I say double down on Amazon. That's the answer I'm going to go with, Josh. And then once you've done that, those auxiliary marketplaces.
Yeah, I like that. And I think the other takeaway from that, Drew, is like, look, guys, you got to be willing to test different things out, right? And you always got to be, at least I love having one of your strategies every year be like, I'm taking this shot, that you're like, for us this year, it was TikTok shop. It was like, I don't know if it will do very well, but let's take the shot. Because if you never take, you're going to miss 100% of the shots that you don't take, right? Good. And so I think hearing from you that you are seeing, hey, guys, people are having success, even though it might be a lot of work, but when they get onto Chewy.com or when they get onto, even Walmart, we're seeing success there. Now, it's not to say, guys, this will work for every single one of you, but it's to say people are winning in these spaces. It may be worth your time and consideration to venture out yourself. So Drew, maybe let's focus maybe our time and efforts now on the optimization that you see brand owners making on Amazon. Because I feel like this is an endless topic. There's always endless amounts of tests and optimizations that you can be making. But as Amazon becomes more competitive and more commoditized, what do you see as like, who's going to win over the next 5 years? What types of brands do you think are going to win out?
I think, what's changing is just like I talked about earlier about the pioneers of Amazon kind of being operation pros, being technical, being like, they're thinking about supply chain, they're thinking about inventory management, sourcing new products. I think that there's a level of that that's still like there's still the juice to squeeze, so to speak, and being great at that. And I'm in the BDSS chats, I'm in the the Orange Click chats, I'm in all the different chats of all the pros, right? And everyone's talking about supply chain and warehousing and trying to find those opportunities, and that's great. I get that, but I think at the end of the day, branding and storytelling and product is really going to win the day. I think that's what's going to win the day. And that's why I speak to creative and content as being the game changer. It's what sets us apart from all the other countries in the world. If you look at the US, it's our music, our entertainment, our movies that run the world. Like that's, if America brings anything to the world, it's culture. And so like with that in mind, I think that's still our strength, even as people not involved in those industries. That is still the strength of the US as far as like an opportunity. And so leaning into that, like, just really leaning into brand, really leaning into storytelling, really leaning into relationship, really leaning into presentation. Those are the things that stand out. And those are the things that like when things lean up and get harder, I think it's not that you can ignore the rest, right? People don't want to do hard things. Even though it's us pros that maybe did hard things 5 years ago, 10 years ago, it's still hard to do hard things. Like I have to tell myself every day, I like to do hard things. I like to do hard things. Let's go learn some more, Drew. You're on year 15. Let's go learn some more. Let's go learn some more. And I hope I'm speaking to some people that just understand what I'm talking about. That's just like, man, I'm tired of learning. I don't, TikTok shop or learning email now or learning like whatever. But it's what you got to do if you want to stay competitive and you want to win. And so I hope I'm talking to the winners here that want to do that. And I would just say lean into like the things that aren't your strong suit. Just because you don't value it doesn't mean others don't. Advertising, marketing, storytelling has existed way before any of these marketplaces come around. And I think if you lean into those things, it's going to win the day. I do think it's going to win the day.
Yeah. I think your point is well taken in terms of like the creative and the storytelling for a brand. That brand story, I think, becomes 10 times more important. And you're right. Like if you take a look at the media in the world, from music to movies, like it's pretty rare to find, some other like a Latin film that's going viral around the world, right? Like it's just rare. But you see like the US culture is embedded everywhere that you go. And so I think that part is truly unique. So Drew, with that being said, and we actually had a branding expert or like kind of like a storytelling expert on the podcast just a couple episodes ago. I would encourage people to go back and listen. It was Jesse J. Robluski, and he talked about how the best brands in the world, through their brand storytelling, are able to decommoditize a commodity product.
Yep.
And so that at the end of the day, I think truly is going to be what sets people apart. So Drew, you're an expert in that field in creativity. So give me some actionable items, things that brand owners should be leveraging on Amazon to tell that brand story to win out amongst the sea of overseas competition and everything else.
Yeah. So I'm speaking from the heart here as someone that, as an agency owner, and the Amazon space is getting harder. It's getting commoditized, even what we do, like it's catching up in that way. I'm having to think about storytelling with Marknology a little bit better and how to change that and how to relook at that. So I'm not really giving advice on anything I'm not working on myself, truly. even as a creative pro. It's like you got to keep things fresh, you got to keep things new. And something that like a euphemism or a way I've been kind of sharing this a little bit is one, you said something earlier, which is like you have to keep innovating and testing. And I had a thought on that, which is just like, look, it becomes even harder to do that when times are hard. When it's getting leaner or your numbers are down, it becomes even harder to test and innovate and spend money on research or innovation, but it becomes even more important. So whatever you have to do in your business to restructure, I think when times are getting hard or leaner, or, you know, it's not as like it used to be, that's when you need to even research and test even more, even though it's harder. So I wanted to say that because your tendency is to pull back, and I don't want to try that consulting. I don't want to try that agency. I don't want to try that TikTok shop experiment with my time. Like I need things that are driving money right now. And that's just not really how it works. Right. So, you know, but back to your question before, like what are some of the things that you can do on Amazon to really do a good job of that is, you know, I think of like an exit that we had was with Ballsy brand. I don't know if you know Ballsy brand out of Austin. They're like the Manscaped competitor, right? And that's a commoditized product, body wash. Okay, deodorant, body wash, like let's talk about commoditized brand, right? But that fun tongue-in-cheek, this is for men. This is like they've got jokes along with their products that are like, you know, they've got a story that they're telling that's just like, you know, that was tailored to men. And it was that story that all of a sudden they've got a new body wash and a new deodorant. It's not like we haven't smelled that smell before or like, you know, used that soap before. It's a story. It's a brand. It's clever. It's something worth sharing. It's shareable. It's like, did you see this funny thing, or did you see this funny thing? And those are like, to me, that's what's winning at the end of the day, is like that story brand there. And so everyone has a version of that, and some people are way better than others at telling that. And on Amazon, for a lot of people, they never really needed to create that story at the beginning. So now they're trying to do it like further down the road, when at first they just needed to like get products up and have a good product that would review well. They didn't need that brand. They didn't need that brand story. And now they're like, well, I got myself here. I got myself to 7 figures, or, you know, how do I get to the next stage? And it's like, well, what got you here won't get you there, kind of thing. And so that you might need to start even before it's just what can you do on Amazon. And it might need to be that you bring in a pro to help you tell that story. What I can say is you don't need to create a new product line or reinvent the brand or anything like that. You can truly create a story around any product. I do believe that, like if you're good enough, or if you really get creative with it. So one is like, maybe even before you're on Amazon, you need to be thinking about that if that resonated with you. To the people on Amazon, it's taking advantage of everything that Amazon's giving us, right? Like Premium A+ is something that I just did a presentation with Orange Click on YouTube, and Daniela Bozeman from Mindful Goods. You know, someone's been creating content for the Amazon community for a long time, and she has a client that's paying $500,000 a year for access to Premium A+. And now it's available for everybody right now. So, you know, so a lot of people aren't taking advantage of that. You know, they're not wanting to invest in content, or they don't have video, or they don't have content like that to really take advantage of it. But you're able to have images, like, you know, not heat mapped images, but shoppable images. You're able to have video in there. You're able to do like a slide, a carousel in your A+. Like it's just taking it to the next level. I think it's having a mixture of UGC in your content, in your videos, in your Amazon reviews. It's really thinking about intentionally, if you were to go image 1 to image 6 and storytell as if you're sitting at a dining table, you're seeing a demonstratable product at Costco or Sam's Club, and you're like going to tell someone like a landing page, walk them through your offer. And then if it's still not clear, that's where that A+ page comes in, and you're building trust or reputation or whatever. I was talking about the euphemism I've been using to bring it back. So I lost it for a second. It was brands. This is like, I'm in real estate too. I do Airbnb, short-term rentals. Like, you know, that's something that I've been investing in over the last 5-6 years to kind of diversify away from Amazon. Amazon and brand building is not that, guys. It is not investing. It is not, a brand is a living thing. It is alive. It communicates. It has a lifespan. It has relationships are at the core of it. So you just like you know, if you get married, you've been married 10 years, you can't stop dating your wife. You have to continue to pursue her. You have to continue to communicate. You have to continue to try to wow her. You know, all of those things. And I think with the brand, we can get complacent too, and being like, you wore the same outfit for 5 years now. on every, you, as a brand, you haven't had a refresh. You've been wearing the same outfit. There's nothing fresh about your messaging. There's nothing fresh about your packaging. There's nothing fresh about your shirt, your tie, your haircut. There's nothing even worth talking about at this point, right? It just becomes like, yeah, I know that that's going to be there, like, and you start taking it for granted. Why? Because it's not putting effort into the relationship. And I know this isn't like I was very technical on the TikTok side. On this side, I'm talking more about mindset, because we're talking about something that's an emotional thing, a mindset thing about your brand. And I just see a lot of brands, dropping the ball here. But I'm going to pause there. I'm going to go a different direction now with what some other brands are doing on Amazon. But I just wanted to kind of leave that there, which is just like really being intentional about your storytelling, really being intentional about, are my images conveying the keywords that matter to my brand, that people are finding my brand? Am I resonating with them? Have I used Product Opinion or PickFu to get some feedback on my stuff? Am I using Amazon experiments to see like old copy versus new copy? When was the last time I tried on a new outfit on my brand? When was the last time I tried on anything new like that? So think about that more than I think like a tactical, like do this. But when was the last time, you changed your outfit? When was the last time you took family photos, so to speak? When was the last time you had a refresh? Sometimes it's not even that what you have is bad. It's just stale and old.
Yeah. How can you communicate? What do you think are like the best ways to communicate like your brand differentiation on Amazon and to tell that story? Like, for example, like, in the secondary images on Amazon, would you even recommend, like, what if you have your main image, but what about your number 2 image being like about your brand story? And it could be about like, look more, hear more about the artist behind this product or the designer behind this product or whatever it is, right? Learn more about the brand, like with Ballsy too, same thing. It's like, this is who we are. This is what we stand for. Do you like that? Is it A, compliant on Amazon? Do you like that doubling down and telling like, that's the differentiating factor between us and these other commodity brands? It's like, this is our story behind our product. Or
I think it's product specific too. Like, look, I'm a white male, 6'3", pale as hell, white male, and I'm a mutt. I'm American mutt. Okay, my family's been here since the Revolutionary War. I grew up in Africa, but like my culture is wishy-washy, right? I'm not part of a minority. There's nothing I can really claim with my brand other than being like, I'm from a poor family. I'm from a missionary family. I'm a bootstrapped entrepreneur. I come from the mud, paid my way through college. Like, that's my story, right? Other people have a much better like thing that they can kind of like launch with, so to speak, like a female-owned business or minority-owned business, or let's just say made in the USA, or like certain things like that, right? And if you can automatically find some level of a success because the Vietnamese Americans in the country are going to support your brand because you're Vietnamese American, lean into that. And that might be where you hit that way early, because they might not even care what the product is. They might be like, I'm just really about supporting other Vietnamese Americans and jumping on that. I think that's okay. Like, I think that's 100% okay. And I think if that's your brand, that's like what you're about, then go that angle. And you might hit that earlier on. If you're like me, where that's not really a big play, saying family owned business or bootstrapped or like, any of that kind of stuff, I might keep my brand story later. I might have that later, maybe lower down, like on the from the brand or the brand story part, like do something about like me and my family and what I'm doing. Because I don't think it's enough that someone's going to just intentionally just buy from me just because. But I do think, like, at least in Kansas City, I see that in person, like very much so. People show up for their people and support it simply because it's their people and they want to support it. So I hope that lands. That was like a little bit of a mouthful trying to get that out. But I think that I'm so like, I think as an expert, it's so hard for me to say black and white, this is the way to go or not go. And I think the people that do on Amazon, I think they're hogwash, because I'm like, that's not the case. If you've done enough attempts, if you worked with 400 brands, if you've seen different approaches, you're going to know that there isn't just one way to do anything, right? So I think if that's something really unique to you, lean into that. I think some people's story just sucks. They've lived in Kansas City their whole life. They've never traveled. They've never experienced other cultures. Their family never experienced other cultures. Like, they might be good people, good human beings, but like their story, their life story in that aspect is kind of boring. They haven't done anything worth sharing. They haven't done anything worth telling. Okay, if I can use that as an example. And the same thing can be the case on Amazon versus like if you're doing something, you're living a life that's exciting. You're living a life where you're learning things and traveling and meeting other cultures. I have stories to tell when I come back from my travels, right? Same thing with the brand. If your brand is actually like got some cool stuff that it's doing, maybe it's giving back to the community, maybe it's made by refugees that are the seamstresses in your brand, and like, or like all that cool stuff, like that is really cool. Put it up, put it early, like, be proud, be proud, right? If you don't have that, don't try to sell something that's not there. Don't try to make yourself exciting if you're not exciting, kind of thing. So that's just where I feel about like the element. I still think there can even be a level of that, even if it's not exciting, but like, don't put that first and foremost. That might be like at the bottom of your landing page, making people, they want to know about you. So they look into it and they're like, oh, they're American. Cool. Like, that's what I get, right? Oh, it's an American. Cool. But not any of the other stuff, right? So I think when you're thinking about your brand story, if your product is like technical, if your product has enough to talk about, like enough selling points, use all those images on that. Don't even talk about the brand. And maybe in the A+ is where you're getting into the brand. If your product alone has its own story, maybe you don't need to lean into that brand stuff. But we're doing a lot of like maybe one image, number 6, being like ethically sourced and like, that kind of stuff about from the brand. And maybe another image is like the other products in their lineup that we can like expose them to. And then like, maybe 3 or 4 images really about the product, early on. And we'll use Pick Your Product Opinion to kind of be like, which of these photos are important or do they matter to you, and kind of get some feedback on that. Just get a little bit of feedback loop on like, do these things matter or not? But it's a subjective thing. I think it's a subjective thing based on what you're selling.
Yeah. Andrew, we could go on for another hour here. We might have to do a part 2 here, but I think you've shared a lot of deep strategies here with all of us today. So I love to leave the listeners with 3 actionable takeaways from every episode. Here are the 3 actionable takeaways that I noted. You let me know if I'm missing something. Okay. So action item number 1 is every single year when you do your annual planning or quarterly planning, you need to have a wild idea where you're taking a shot. And I love the analogy that you shared, Drew. Don't wait until your back's up against the wall to say, ooh, we should go diversify now. Sales suck on this platform now for me. I need to go figure it out, because you're going to be coming from a state of lack and minimalism. And you're like, I'm not making as much money as I am. So I'm not going to invest on giving hundreds of samples away for this new product endeavor, even though it may open up retail distribution channels that could double or triple your business overnight, right? And so it reduces that mindset. So that means always be testing. Yes. So just like on Amazon, the rule of thumb has always been always be launching. Well, likewise, your second priority in the business should be like always be testing new platforms, new opportunities to grow your brand. So that's action item number 1. Action item number 2 is, I think, leverage what's working now. And TikTok Shop is probably the hottest topic of what's working for a lot of people right now. And so Drew shared an immense deep dive in how they're utilizing TikTok Shop. And frankly speaking, it's one of the first like really creative ways that I've seen people using it. Which I think has a lot of advantages compared to just going the traditional, reach out to a bunch of influencers, affiliates, send them a bunch of sample products, see what sticks.
Thank you.
You're much more in control, and you don't have to pay the commission when you spark somebody else's ad because it's your own video. So I think that's worth noting. And then the third and final action item is to lean into your brand story and your creative content. You talked about premium A+ content. If you don't have that, put that as an action item. If you don't have a true brand story or message, maybe it's worth, reaching out to a consultant, reaching out to an expert if that's not your area of specialty, and get something put together to sink your teeth into. Because I think that long gone are the days of just private label brands of, hey, I slapped some random word brand name that I came up with and I put it on this mug and that's enough. You have to have a differentiating factor. And I think it's going to be what sets you apart from the overseas competitors in the long term. So, Drew, those are my 3 actionable takeaways. Anything I missed?
No, you killed it. I wanted to leave something that's just a little fun. I just found this out this weekend. I don't know if you've seen this, but do you ever use like Postmates or Uber Eats or DoorDash ever?
Yep.
Like, okay.
Yes,
So, if you're busy, you got like, look, I can go take that hour lunch break. I can have food delivered and save myself some time, So anyway, my friend showed me this weekend that there's these ghost restaurants that I didn't know about. Okay, think of this in regards to Amazon, guys, because Postmates and Uber Eats is just like what they've created is a marketplace for restaurants, right? So it's another marketplace. We just don't operate in restaurants, right? But what they're doing is if you actually look at it, it might be like Mr. Beast sandwiches, or like what's the one that he tests all the pizza places. These popular like influencers on social media, and they're calling it like Mr. Beast subs. And you go in there, it's like a steak and cheese, it's like a salami, Italian meatball, and but if you go look at the address, they have these names. If you go look at the address, what I found was that Mr. Beast sandwich sub shop is coming from IHOP. Okay, so what's happening is IHOP is like, I want to reach a different market. I want to tell a different story than the IHOP story. I think we can, like, no one's going to IHOP for a steak and cheese sub. I know I'm not. That's not what comes to mind when I'm like, I want a steak and cheese sub. But I ordered that on Postmates. It was pretty good. Right. And so just a silly example of like how a reframing of the same product, really thinking about what's a new opportunity and a way I can tell my story a little bit different about our restaurant, because it's not IHOP. Now I'm all of a sudden like, oh, it's got a new outfit on it, so to speak. Like, it's not wearing the same outfit, and I'm willing to take a shot on it. So if that can, like, as just an example of like, that's an opportunity that IHOP's leaning into. And it was like a Denny's and an IHOP, and just look up the addresses on some of these spots that you didn't know of, and you see, wow, that's a thing. So think about that with the same context of your brand. And just, you got to be trying, you got to be innovating, you got to be, keeping it fresh.
Good words of wisdom, Drew. Love it. All right. My final 3 questions that I'd love to ask each guest. So number 1, what's been the most influential book that you've read and why?
Well, I'm an avid reader. I definitely go through spurts, and I think The Body Keeps Score. It's not related to business, but The Body Keeps Score would be my number 1 book. Just at the time that I read it, what I was going through, my past is pretty crazy. In Africa, it was like I was in war zones and some stuff like that. So I'm not a soldier, I'm a missionary kid, but I definitely went through a lot of life at a young age. And that book just really opened my mind to a lot of things. And I want to have a secondary one that's not so heavy as that one for some people. And it's a book called Tribe by Sebastian Junger. Have you heard of it?
I think I've heard of it, but I haven't read it.
Okay, it's a short read, meaning it's not a super big book. I recommend it to anyone, to the point where I'm like, if you read it and you don't like it, send me a Venmo request and I'll pay for it. Like, it's a good book. And it's just about relationships, and it's following a reporter, a wartime reporter, through battles, and just talking about friendship and relationship and kind of what matters and what drives soldiers together, what drives tribes together, what makes up a tribe. I think this Amazon community, definitely pre-2020 and even now, it just changing a little bit, but we're a tribe in a lot of ways too. And I've really enjoyed being a part of the e-com community. So Tribe by Sebastian Junger, I recommend it to everyone. I really, really think you'd enjoy it.
Awesome recommendation. All right. Question number 2. What's your favorite AI tool that you're using and why?
That's hard for me. I'm using a lot of different AI tools. I'm actually working on like an outbound lead gen system. And so I'm like playing with a lot of them, but just as a standalone that might help somebody else, Beautiful.ai, just for like when I'm throwing together, some quick pitches. I've got kind of decks and templates built out in there so I can just kind of talk to it, but I can throw stuff together pretty quick. If for anybody that doesn't know, it's a presentation tool, it's a slideshow tool. You can export it to Google Slides or to PowerPoint too. So I can basically get like a framework really, really quickly, and then I pass it to my my creative team. They kind of take it the final 10 yards or whatever. But Beautiful.ai.
Great recommendation. I've used that one as well in the past. All right, final question. Who is somebody that you would respect or admire in the e-commerce space that you would recommend other people follow, and why?
Well, that's a hard one as well. I have so many friends, and colleagues in this space, but I'm going to say John Durkitz. He's someone that recently, maybe the last couple of years, we've connected just on some different e-com deals. And so started just really had some 4 or 5 great conversations and was like, wow, this is like a really sharp guy that really knows his stuff. Follow him on LinkedIn. He's always keeping it fresh and, always giving some kind of insight that I haven't put the time in to find, so to speak. And so, I'm not sponsored by John in any means, but I would say he has a new newsletter, I believe, and you should give it a follow.
Yep, we've had him on the podcast, and he shared some super valuable tips. So he's a great one to follow. Great one to follow. Well, Drew, this has been awesome. If people want to learn more about you, learn about your services, maybe have you manage their PPC and content, where can people find you at?
Yeah, so I'm on LinkedIn, Andrew Morgans with an S. I think there's not that many Morgans, so pretty easy to find me. Also, marknology.com. We've got some good content portfolios, stuff to find. I'm on YouTube and Instagram. I would say Instagram is my more personal one, where I'm talking about mindset and traveling and family and just where my head's at, what books I'm reading and stuff like that. So business side is kind of LinkedIn. Personal side, entrepreneurship stuff, less Amazon, less e-commerce focus is on Instagram. Just Andrew Morgans.
Awesome. Well, Drew, thanks again for your time and joining the show today.
Awesome, Josh. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for listening. Visit ecombreakthrough.com for more information. If you've enjoyed today's episode, the best way you can show your appreciation is by clicking the subscribe button and quickly leaving a review. See you again next time.